So good afternoon everyone. Today our topic is stone. We talk about the materiality and cladding detail today. It has very similar cladding assemblage to the brick veneer system. We're looking at this system later. First, we looking at the stone materiality. So first we can see that this first image here. So you can see that this marble panel, how we making this marble panel, how we making this translucent quality, and how we can diffuse lighting from the marble panel. So we're gonna looking at the different cladding method and different material method. So through the lecture today. So first we have to be discuss about what is about the stone character. Stone, you can find the most area where stone is available. It means the area has the unique stone type. It means it is have a local character. So that's why you can easy to the expressing about the locality using your local stone for your project. Also, stone has been the favorite over the other material for the construction of a monumental architecture because it is durable and strong material. So it means it is easy to build architecture structure, architecture building material because of the strengths. And it is also of the advantage our durability and adaptability to the structural treatment and the fact that it can be used in modest the structure in a natural state. The stone itself is very strong material. That's why it is available to using the structural member. Also, stone is easy to treat. It means easy to making the foam and easy to making some ornament way. So that's why it's very popular architectural material from the history. And stone as the architectural material have currently developed as new way, but the historical way it is using the pretty simple method. However, nowadays it has the lots of different technological development. So we're using the stone differently. So we're looking at some lots of different method and idea the later of this lecture. The why stone is so popular in the historical age. So this is a pyramid. It is most famous and ancient stone architecture project. Egyptian use a stone to build pyramid because it is stability, longevity, and luxury. So these three characters is the main character why the historical architecture used the stone a lot. Okay, and then why the monumental building is using the stone. Okay, so but nowadays we have a lot of different. We can use the stone differently depending on the manufacturing process. These two images are possibly the contemporary architecture stone material. For your elevation design, you can choose the natural, which is a random stacking assemblage, or the paneling assemblage. So we're gonna see these different assemblage later of this lecture. Also, stone works as a structural member because about the strengths. It is the Padre Pio Church designed by Renzo Piano. In this project, this structure stone arch support roof. You can see the tapering technique because the bottom of arch supports the heaviest load. So when you see the section here, this is a tapering, and then this is the support more load. From this region, this have to be much wider, and then this stone also connected by this foundation, this footing design, and then this is connected to the continuous concrete column. It support this stone arch, and then this stone arch support the roof and the ceiling road. Okay, and you can also find out the physical. Depending on the cutting method, you can use the stone differently. When you're cutting your marble, which is when you're cutting the very thin cut, which is 1/8 inch to the 1/4 inch, you can actually making out this translucent impact. You can use this translucent impact. It means you can actually diffuse the lining from outside to the inside to the outside. You can make a very unique expression through this stone panel. You can also find out that this same project, So you can just find out the diffusing the lighting from the outside to the inside, in making a very unique atmosphere through the marble panel. Also, natural stone has been used for the facade application for centuries. Marble facade in historical building has a 4-inch to 8-inch thickness. It's very thick. The panel they have to using for the cladding when it was the historical age. However, nowadays we cannot use this 4-inch to 8-inch thickness the stone panel, because we have to be concerned about the price. We have to be concerned about the efficiency. From this region, we have to be using the very thin marble cut for the cladding. But when you're using this thin marble cut for your cladding, what's the problem? So you can just find out that this building, this is a Finlandia hall designed by Alvar Aalto. So what is problem? Did you guys find any issue over the facade? You can just find that the loss of a bowing panel. What happening? So when you're just making the very thin cut marble, the very thin marble, when it exposed to the direct sunlight, it tended to making this bowing. So that's why we have to be very careful to using this very thin cut marble to using some cladding to expose to the direct sunlight. So you have to be understanding one of these problem was the paneling the bowing. When marble exposed to the direct sunlight or direct weather, it making the bowing. So when you use a bowing panel, it has a lots of a cracking issue as well. But one problem, when marble just having this problem, it never fully return to the original. So means when you're having the problem here, you have to be changing the whole marble panel again. So means you have a lots of some cost after seeing this issue. You can see the more example here. This more serious part, the marble is kind of bowing like this way, right? But how we can fix? When the architect and manufacturer that found this issue, they thinking about how they can making a better product. There were two solutions they consider. The greatest amount of the bowing is on the south-facing facade, which is the most sun-exposed orientation. Okay, when marble exposed to sun orientation, it tends to bowing the panel. What is about the solution? The entire surface of our marble panel is attached to the aluminum honeycomb backing. It means when you simply adding the honeycomb backing, which is aluminum backing, the bottom of the marble panel, this backing honeycomb aluminum backing hold the marble panel. It protect this bowing issue. Okay, the number one option, you remember, you can adding aluminum honeycomb backing attach to the back side of the marble panel. Okay, and next one, nowadays many manufacturing company, especially marble company, they having the lots of a test, which is that it has to pass the 40 heating and cooling cycle test. Some manufacturer test 200 cycles. The manufacturer only provide marble panel, which they pass the bowing test. Okay, so first option, they can adding this aluminum honeycomb. The panel is a aluminum honeycomb backing panel, the backside of the marble. But next one, even the manufacturer, they keep testing, which is a bowing test, 40 times to the 200 times. Okay, we only using the passing bowing test the product. So product decision nowadays, the marble is not bowing, not marble panel is not bowing too much, but still, if you just getting the cheaper one, probably you can find out that these bowing issues. Okay. So now we talk about the stone type. We talk about the 5 atypical stone type today: the granite, the marble, slate, limestone, and sandstone. So we're looking at the one by one, and then you have, of course, we have more stone type, but these 5 stone is most typical and most popular stone type in our industry. So let's looking at the granite. The granite here. So granite has the various color and the texture available. You can see lots of different color and texture available for the cladding. This granite mostly using for exterior cladding. It is very good exterior material because of the durability. However, the workability is very difficult. From this region, the granite is mostly the cutting the rectangular shape. It is very difficult to cutting the organic shape because about the durability. So from this region is great exterior material, but it has the limited foam making material. Next one is marble. The marble has the luxury looking finish material. It is an excellent choice for interior application. However, only certain type of marble are suitable for the exterior application. Because you remember, if you're using a weak marble, the facing to the exposed to the sunlight and exposed to direct weather, it tend to the bending or some bowing. So from this region, you have to know about the marble, the materiality very well, and choosing the proper marble type for using the exterior cladding. Also, when you're using a dark marble, it's like a dark marble here, the dark marble will normally fade in the sunlight, and almost all marble will losing the polish finish over the time. So it means when you just kind of expose the sunlight, you avoid the dark marble because it fading very easily, and most polished marble is losing the polished finish over the time. So next one is slate. Slate is matte finish. It's very earthy and natural looking finish. It is mostly using for the floor, roof, and furniture. It is kind of a great kind of earthy and natural looking material. It is also great to the matching with the concrete and the painted gypsum board. From this region, the architect and designer love to using the slate material inside or outside. And also you can just find that the limestone is one of my favorite stone because it's cheap, and also the color is very calm and quiet. It is very warm and cozy color. It is good for exterior panel and interior uses. The limestone is usually more economical than the granite. It is cheaper than granite. However, it has the limited size and quantity compared to the other stone. Okay, the panel size is limited compared to the other stone. However, it's kind of pretty big enough to using for the cladding panel. It also making a lots of a luxury feeling and also giving the more calm and quiet feeling. So next example, the sandstone. The sandstone may be any color available. It is the lots of different colors available for your use. The most common colors are tan, the brown, the yellow, red, the gray, the pink, the white, and black. So it means almost any color is available in a sandstone. However, some sandstone is bad for the weather resistance because of the porosity. It is mostly consists of the sand. So it means some sandstone having the lots of porosity. That's why it's not suitable to using the exterior cladding because the lots of water can getting into the space. Now we talk about the major form of a stone. So we talk about more about the natural looking stone or paneling stone type here. So you can just find that this stone and other stone type. So you can see the more about the field stone and quarried rubble. It is more about the natural stone looking, and the rubble, the squared rubble, and mosaic flag stone, and then ashlar cut dimensional stone and square flag stone. It is more about the thin cut the panel type. So let's looking at the field stone and quarried rubble stone type first. So let's talk about the gabion. It is usually using the stone that's putting into the cage. The gabion is the Italian word, which is gabione. The gabione means big cage. Okay, it means you prepare the big cage and then put the random stone inside, which is this field stone or the quarried stone, the inside of this cage, the making out this block, which is like the Minecraft, just making the block and stacking together to making out the wall. These types of the gabion is mostly using for the retaining wall in the highway. But nowadays, architect is more focusing on how we can using this material in our space. So that's why gabion wall is very well to representing about the natural looking, and then also provide the different feeling of the space. That's why gabion is the very popular architectural material in these days. You can just kind of find out one really wonderful project using the gabion. This is a Dominus winery designed by Herzog and de Mello, locating in the San Francisco winery, which is a Sonoma area, I believe. It's close to Napa Valley. You can see that this gabion, they're using the cage, and then they collect the local stone, and then you just kind of try to making out the local, try to expressing what the locality, and try to the camouflage from this existing nature by collecting the local stone for their elevation. I think that is kind of wonderful way to expressing about this elevation design and facade design. Even when you just kind of find out that their technique, it is amazing. So they actually using the 3 different stone type from the top to bottom. You can just find out the top floor, which is located in the office, the program. They're using some bigger stone, but the bottom one, which is the wine cellar, they're using the smaller stone. Why they using this smaller stone on the bottom? Why they making a bigger stone on the top? Because you have to remember the office space have to be getting the more lighting from the outside, and then wine cellar have to be block the direct sunlight. In this case, they actually control this lighting from the stone size. When you're having the bigger stone to stone, you're usually having the bigger gap. But when you're having the smaller stone to smaller stone, it usually doesn't have any kind of a gap between. So that's why they're using the bigger stone on the top. It means more lighting coming in. If they're using the smaller stone on the bottom, they actually block the direct sunlight. This is a kind of a logic behind why they're choosing the different stone size using in the gabion. Okay. You can see the bottom part, you can see the smaller stone totally block the direct sunlight, but top part you can see the office area, you can actually still getting the sunlight and the diffusing lighting from the outside. I think that is very clever idea, and how architect consider about the material and how we manipulating this material depending on the function. So next we talk about this type, the more about the panelizing type. So we talk about this called the flagship Prague stone. So this is a Barcelona pavilion designed by Mies van der Rohe. I think everyone knows this project. This is the most beautiful marble panel, the building. Okay, they're using the marble panel, the wall, to characterize the space. It provide accent in a space. But next example is also really interesting. This is a Yale main library designed by SOM. You can see the actually structure. They have a stone skeleton. They're making the crading system, the crading structure system by the stone. But also the crading material is very interesting. They're using the thin marble cut. Why they using this thin marble cut? I think next example, next image is very compelling. When they using this thin marble cut, they actually diffuse lighting through this thin marble cut panel. So that's why when you're getting the inside of this library, the lighting actually diffuse from outside, and then you can feel totally different feeling from the outside. Even you can actually feeling about the marble pattern, because the white part, it can more lighting coming in, and darker part actually more block the lighting. So it means depending on the marble panel, it making some different lighting impact. So I think that is amazing translucent marble panel type. Even they just change the physicality, which is they making a thin cut from the actually marble panel to making out this kind of impact. We have to keep testing it out from the actual same material. Even when you consider about the stone, when you just can even change this kind of a physical the form, you can just get in the new impact. So it means when you know about the basic idea about the material, you are easy to change and transform the material differently and making out the space differently. So talk about the stone finish. So first one, bush hammered. You can just find the bush hammered, they have lots of texture right around. The stone is very slippery material at the floor if you have water. It also protect the slippery as well as making texture when using the bush hammered. They making a very rough texture. It protect the slippery. Also, it making the rough texture to emphasize the space. I really liking about this kind of texture, this space here. I think that is kind of a Yale library as well. And they just kind of making the bush hammered method to making out this texture. It is really emphasizing some wall from the space. But in a historical age, they using the hammer to making out this pattern. But nowadays, we just kind of using the machine to using this panel, which is more about the bush hammer, the rollable machine. So let's look at this one and then jumping to the next finish time. Okay, so next type it is the honed, ground, and sawn type. So first we talk about the honed. The top two images here, this one and this one is honed. The stone has to be in the grind to a smooth and flat and consistent surface. In honed finish usually having a matte finish here. Okay, what about the ground? The bottom left, the left image is ground. It is rough texture surface of exposed aggregate finish. It means it keep grinding to expose the aggregate. So it means compared to the honed, the ground have a much texture and then it also exposed to the aggregate. And the sawn, you usually find this vertical texture when you're having the sawn here. Okay. Next one, this is a polished and the bottom two images split. The polished, it has the highly refracted surface. It displays the vibrancy of the stone color. But split, it has the broken or split looking surface. It has the very rough texture. So means when you want to make more stone color and texture, you can consider to using the polish. But when you want to make more rough texture, you can consider to using this split. So when you want to make the polish panel, you will use this polish machine like a grinder. And it is different size of the brush to refine the surface. It means in using the rough the texture and then grind it first, and then the fine texture the grind later to making this polished finish. And then you can just kind of see the split, how they're making the split texture. You can using this tone to making out the pattern and the split texture. So next one, I just bring the one video. It is very well to explaining and describing about the different stone finish type. I think when you watching this video, you are much better to understanding about the different finish type, and you are more imaging about how you can use in a different finish type for your project. So let's watch this video together, and then we jumping to talk about the stone arrangement.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Granite Shorts. Today we're going to discuss the different surface finishes that can be applied to the stone. And what you see behind me is an unfinished backside of a granite slab. Okay, let's go check out the other side. So here we have this beautiful black absolute slab, and what a difference from the back of it. It was completely gray on the other side, and now it's a rich, deep black, very saturated. And that's what you get from the polished finish. This is a completely polished surface. It's as close to a mirror finish as you can get. To achieve the surface, when the slabs are at the quarry, they go through a process of polishing, and diamond polishing pads are used of various levels, from the very rough to the very fine ones, and basically they smooth out the surface until it's glossy. The polished finish is the most popular finish out there, especially for granite, and that's because it brings out the most of the color from the stone. It's very contrast enhancing. It's also very practical because it's hygienic and very easy to clean. This is to show you just how reflective the surface finish is. Now, let's check out another one. What we have here is a honed finish, and now this is the same exact stone as we have just seen, but this one is more gray than black, and that's because the surface here is not reflective. It's slightly dull. So the different types of finishes will affect how the color of the stone would look like. The more finished, the more polished the stone is, the more contrast and the more saturation you will get out of the stone, and the rougher the surface is, it will become more dull. So there's no reflection here, and this type of a surface finish is often used in country kitchens, also some contemporary kitchens or bars actually, and it has a very appealing look to it. It's a very smooth surface. And the next surface finish that we have here is flame finish, and this is the same stone that we've just looked at in the previous two slabs. This is absolute black as well. And the difference here is that the surface is very, very rough. This finish is achieved by passing a high intensity flame over the surface of the stone, which causes some of the minerals in it to pop out of it, and that leaves a very rough finish. Because of its very rough surface, it's great for outdoors, for walkways or stairs. It's really non-slippery. And here we have a very beautiful decorative finish. This is called the water finish, or a river wash. The surface here is very uneven, and that's because water under high pressure is passed over the surface, and it washes out the softer minerals from the stone, leaving the hard ones exposed. It's a really interesting texture. It's really uneven, but still smooth. And here we have the sandblasted finish. It's similar to the honed finish as far as the looks go, but when you feel it, it's a little bit more rough. It's not as smooth. The way this surface finish is created is by shooting a stream of sand onto the surface, which kind of blasts away little particles of the stone. Another decorative finish, this is a brushed finish. A roll of brushes, a metal brush, goes over the surface of this rather soft stone, slate in this case, and it leaves very nice grooves in the stone. And here we have a decorative but still very practical finish. This is the leather finish. It's a textured finish that's brushed to achieve a much smoother surface. These are just some of the surface finishes that are available, but they're also some of the more popular ones. Thank you for watching Granite Shorts, and I'll see you next week.
So now we talk about the stone arrangement. Look at some arrangement. There's a two arrangement type. First one is coursed arrangement, and next one is uncoursed arrangement. So let's look at uncoursed arrangement first. The uncoursed arrangement, which is the random stacking method. The field stone is the most random arrangement. You can see the field stone. This is the most random the arrangement type, and then roughly square. This is the most organized type in an uncoursed arrangement. So let's look at the one example using this field stone. This project using the field stone arrangement, which is you can see the most random arrangement type. This is a Niyang River, the visitor center locating between the Tibet and China. You can see that this colorful kind of interior space, and outside you can see the field stone arrangement. The architect collect local stone material to making out this building. So that's why when you see from the outside, this project is camouflage from the nature because they're using the same material from the context, and also they're using the color. This color more representing the Tibet, and then this color actually using the local mineral pigment are directly painted on the stone surface. This random arrangement has great balance with the existing nature. Next one we talk about the coursed arrangement. The coursed arrangement is more ordered type than organized type. You can see the three different types: the broken ashlar, the random ashlar, and coursed ashlar. The broken ashlar is the most random type in coursed arrangement, and coursed ashlar is the most organized type. So let's look at the one example using the broken ashlar, which is you can see the broken ashlar here. You know about the falling water. This is the most famous single family house in the US. They're using the broken ashlar arrangement. You can see the building, and then you can see the waterfall coming down, and then the architect want to the camouflage from the nature, so that's why they're using this type, but they just want to just making the more random looking finish. From this region, they're using the mosaic Prague stone for their stone paneling. This mosaic Prague stone provide more random elevation texture, and then it makes more harmonize with the nature. So I just kind of bring the one example, the video, how this project construct over the nature. I think the construction process is pretty compelling and inspiring. So let's watch the construction process video together, and then talk about the next topic. So let's we talk about the coursed echelon. It is the ordered, the layering in the coursed arrangement. This is a learning coursed echelon. You can see the example here. This is a museum extension, the project. But I think that project is pretty well the manipulating this stone panel, because each stone panel size, the exact matching it, this opening datum line. So you can see the opening and the stone panel actually matching with this opening datum line. And you can see the elevation image. You can see this is opening, but stone panel actually exactly matching with this opening size. This is a very well manipulating the opening and stone size. Architect everything have the calculating before constructing this opening. They just want to making the matching the line, the datum line, the opening datum line with the stone paneling type together. So everything the very well manipulation before the constructing this project. So next one we talk about the height, the arrangement height. So there's you might consider, but the more height you can consider, more random time you can consider. But I just kind of bring it out the most typical the assemblage type using these three different height you can using for the elevation. So you can just find that the first one, single height, everything just is the same height all around for your elevation. You can also see the two height. When you use the two height, you can just kind of usually using the 60%, which is the two double height space, and then 40% is single height space. Okay, so it means this double height is around 60%, and then this single height it is around 40%. You can just find out the three height. So in this case, you can find out the triple height space and the double height space here, and the single height space. You can see the arrangement. The single height space is around 15%, and double height space is around 40%, and triple height space is around the 45%. Okay, but it is not the fixed number, but this is the common number you can find out from the existing elevation. So that's why you can just see how you can use. Also you can making out the own arrangement depending on the project scheme. So first example here, this is using the single height and single width. So when you're using the single height and single width, it has more uniform looking. It will be cheaper than random height and width, because you can order the same stone type to the manufacturing company. Now we talk about the range sample. We also already talked about the tight range and wide range in the brick assemblage. So when you want to make in the tight range, you can use a very similar color between the panel, and also find out the similar size between the panels. So when you want to make it more monolithic looking, you might consider the tight range, the wide range and brand. So you can just have an extensive color and size between unit. So in this case, you can just move to the emphasize articulation and emphasize modularity. So I just kind of bring the example here. This is Centro de Artes, designed by Iris Mateus. This project using the range, because they have a different color tone and size between unit, and they use the three different height. You can see the triple height, double height. You can see the single height, and then they also using the learning course echelon, because everything is continuous layer. Okay, so they just kind of combining these three different arrangement and then the wide range together to making out this elevation. It means depending on the different combination, you can making out your unique elevation type from your design. So this project, you can see, I think that project is very well arranging this stone panel, but also you can just find out the interesting kind of a technical part. So when you see this passageway between the building, this building have some separating building because architect want to connect to city block to the another city block. They just want a more the naturally flowing from the one side the city block to the another side the city block. But when you just kind of find out this project, you can see that the gap between the panel, the architect, the considering about the gap, just following the stone panel. This is the end of a stone panel side here, end of a stone panel, and then this line just between this stone panel. You can see here. What is about the gap between? What is about the function of this one? So when you see this project, the water drainage system, usually you can just see the water drainage, the grill over the top. But architect doesn't want to expose this grill because they want to making the more monolithic looking space using the stone. So from this reason, they actually making out this system. They just recessed the drainage system, and then they just cover the two stone panel here. So that's why you can see that one stone panel and another stone panel. You can see stone panel and this stone panel, and then just kind of naturally making the gap between, and then just correct the water and then redirect the water from the site to the city sewage. Outside they're using these types of the stone type, but inside is totally different the looking. So they just want to give in a more contrast view from outside and inside, and then they just making the more the white looking finish, which is they using the marble floor. Also the building section and building arrangement is very interesting. They just actually articulating the floor massing outside. You remember why they just articulating floor massing, because they just kind of flowing the traffic from the one side the city block to other side, another side the city block. But they just want to connect each massing. So that's why they designing and propose connected the basement design to connect each massing while keeping the traffic on the ground level. Next project, using the tight range. This building's exterior and major interior wall are clad with a light color Portuguese limestone. In using the limestone inside and outside, when also they use the size of the stone and similar color tone, that's why it is more concerned about the tight range. Okay, this project is the Telfair Museum of Art designed by Moshe Safdie, and then using these tight range, the building itself is very monolithic and pure looking finish using the stone panel inside and outside. Okay, outside and inside. So therefore they using the similar color tone. This is more emphasizing the shading, the pattern, and casting the shadow over the more monolithic kind of a stone panel over it. So next we talk about the multi-directional stone. Sometimes you can use the multi-direction stone tile in a single space. Probably many people study a big pan of this multi-direction and diagonal the pattern. However, this architect is more concerned about this different the direction per each floor, because this is a huge scale, probably person scale here. But compared to the person to the actual height of the building, it's huge. It's very monolithic looking. But when you consider if they use the same the stone panel color and the stone side, it looks too gigantic. From this architect probably more concerned about articulation of this monolithic wall. They articulating the 4 level using the different stone size and different stone panel. So from this region, people just feel more about the human, people more feeling about the scaled, the proportion. The people just kind of more consider about this building is not very gigantic because about this articulation per using the different, the directioning kind of a stone layout. So now we talk about the stone panel assembly. So we already discussed about this assemblage type from the brick veneer assemblage. So we talk about the load-bearing wall here, and we talk about the monolithic wall and banier wall system. You remember about what is about the load-bearing wall. The load-bearing wall, it support the structure itself, and then it also works as the exterior cladding. We remember the load-bearing wall required huge thickness, right? So it means the most water refracting and then protecting from the surface, but even the water can getting into this thick wall. This thick wall absorbs the old water. That's why you don't need waterproofing membrane when you use the load-bearing wall. But however, you remember nowadays contemporary architecture, we are hard to use this load-bearing wall system because we always consider about the efficiency. We always considering about the efficient the space, also consider about the budget. So from this region, we are more to consider about the barrier system. But the mostly historical building, you can just find out the load-bearing wall. You can see the wall at the Cusco, the Peru, and then lots of the historical building just using this load-bearing wall system. It works as the cladding and works as the structure. Once again, but nowadays we have to be more to consider about the barrier wall system. You remember about what is barrier wall? In using the rain screen system. Probably we already discussed about the rain screen system from the second lecture. I think it's the first lecture, which is the brick barrier system. But I just kind of cover one more time. What is your consideration to designing this barrier system and rain screen system? First of all, you need to be add the structure framing system here, wall framing, which is it is using the metal stud. Okay, and then to hide the metal stud, you have to be add the interior gypsum board. And then to protect this framing, you have to be add cover board here, which is we talk about this is a sheeting, right? You remember. And then to cover this sheeting, you need to be adding the waterproofing membrane over this sheeting. Okay, and then you remember about the to making the better performed wall system, you need to be adding the rigid exterior rigid insulation over the waterproofing membrane. And then over the waterproofing membrane, we provide cavity space. Why we need to provide cavity space? This cavity space, we can also, from this cavity space, we can call it as the rain screen system. The cavity system giving the air space, which is the when water coming in, and then it is giving some space to dry out this water. So also water coming in, so easy to getting out the water from this gap space. So this is a main character. You need to be adding this gap for the barrier wall system. And over the gap system, you need to be adding the finish, the cladding, which is when you're using the brick barrier, you can use the brick barrier for the cladding. But when you use the stone, you can use the stone barrier for the cladding. Okay. Yeah, erase. You can see one more time. Okay. I think you just better understanding about the system here. So you can see the wall framing, inside gypsum board, which is the finish wall, interior finish wall, and the sheeting, which is a cover board exterior. And to protect the cover board, you need the waterproofing membrane, and then you just kind of increase the wall performance. You need to adding the rigid insulation, and then you need the cavity space. When you also remember about the what is minimum cavity space thickness, and then what is about the maximum cavity space, please looking at the first lecture I already covered. And the wider cavity is less chance of the water breaching gap. It means if you have in the wider space, it's much easy to dry out the water. And then you need to be designing this cavity space, which is air space, and then it is called as the rain screen system. And then you need to be adding the cladding system here. It can be brick barrier system, or it can be stone paneling system. Okay, so most water actually protecting from this cladding system here. But when water is coming in, actually waterproofing membrane inside actually protect the water, which is a double protecting system. So I just once again, you have to be memorized this barrier wall system design. You have to be draw yourself how you can draw this design. It is very important to know. When you know about this one, it is easy to adapt any kind of word system. But if you don't know this one, you don't know any kind of word system. So from this reason, I just ask you one more time, 346 and 546, you have to be memorize this one and then use this system again and again during the semester and then during the college. Also after graduate, you keep using this system again and again. Please believe me, I think that is very important, the drawing to memorize. Okay, so I just keep asking you to memorize this stuff, and then I ask you to memorize yourself, and then just giving the question in the module quiz and then final exam. Okay, you have to be draw, you have to be annotating it. Okay. So you can see the stone panel system. You can using this stone panel for the design. So now we talk about the expansion joint. Also, you remember about the expansion joint. We already discussed from the first lecture. What is about the expansion joint? So it means, so you have to be understanding about this corner condition first. When weather change, this stone can be pressable, it can be expanding or shrink. But when it be expanding, it keep pushing this side. It means if the panel and this panel is too tight, this is keep pushing, and then when you keep pushing this side, you can find out the cracking. This is vertical cracking this side. From this region, you have to be considering about the expansion joint. This expansion joint you need to provide because about the horizontal forces. The first one, lateral forces, occur caused by earthquake or wind. This is horizontal forces. That's why you have to provide expansion joint. Also, you have to be concerned about the thermal expansion of your material. Your material, especially when you're using the wood or stone or brick, this is always pressable. It can be expand and shrink depending on the weather condition. From this region, you have to provide extra gap between the stone panel to another stone panel. So you can see the stone panel here and the stone panel. Maybe you can talk about some gap between. And this is how we talk about expansion joint. Expansion joint is usually wider than normal mortar gap. So therefore, it's easy to getting into the water to the structure. From this region, you have to be sealed properly using the sealant and backer road. Okay, so you can see some sealant and backer road here. The sealant is kind of sealed over the surface, and backer road, this is extra the protection mostly made by the sponge. When you think about the tolerance, it has to be gap between the panel and infill the mortar, which is a sealing cone, and the backer road to protect the water from outside. So let's see the joint sealant detail between the stone panel to infill the gap. You can see the sealant and backer road here. It has to be adding the backer road here. Then it need to be adding the sealant or mortar over the backer road, giving the extra protection. Also, if you do not want to expose the mortar or sealant line, you might consider about the dry stack. What is about the dry stack? The dry stack method is able to make a very clean surface. So it means you can still see the expansion joint, but there is no sealant and backer road. How connect stone panel without the mortar or sealant? They actually panelizing each part. Okay, you can still see the expansion joint. And then this paneling wall assemble the hang over the concrete beam and slab. You can see that there was structure. You can see that also clip here. And then this paneling system, the hanging, using the crane, and then it is easy to hanging over these clips. Okay, and then making out this continuous wall. Each panel having this expansion joint or also tight inside, so means it's easy to get protect the water. So now we're looking at one case study using this dry stack method. This is a Mortensrud church designed by Jensen Skådevin. This church used the uncourse arrangement. It used the dry stacking method for elevation. It is great example to see the dry stacking method. I think also you can use the ledge rock, the uncoursed method for making out this elevation. I think that is kind of really interesting project when you see the inside. So you can see the inside of the project. So they're using the dry stacking method. Okay, and then through this dry stacking method, you can see the lots of different the size of the preparation, and then through this preparation, lighting diffused from outside to inside and making out the pretty unique the atmosphere of the space. The architect is inspiring from the stainless glass from the Gothic church, and then they want to kind of expressing about this feeling of this church. So they just kind of inspiring from the Gothic church stainless glass, and then they just kind of more focusing on how they creating this diffusing lighting feeling from the stone stacking elevation. So from this region, they choosing the dry stack and they try to making out these lots of preparation, different size preparation to expressing about this feeling. But you just kind of see these dry stacking, how they protect weather. So because they have a lots of opening and preparation, so it means it's hard to protect in the water. But how architect provide protection of the water and weather? So they consider about the double skin system. You can see the double skin system here. This dry stack stone panel, and then supported by this metal structure. And outer layer, you can see the glass, which is a grading system. The first layer, they using the grading system, and then inner layer, they using this dry stack stone panel they used. This is a chapel image. You can see the stone panel inside, and outside they're using the stone grading system. Even they just kind of more emphasizing stone. That's why they just kind of using the existing stone in their site, and then they just kind of keeping it and more expressing about this stone over the space. Also, you can easy to see the double skin system from this diagram. They're using the stone stacking method, and then from the metal panel, the metal structure, and then outer layer, they're using this grading system. This metal frame, the support, this dry stack stone, but outer layer, they're using this grading system to making the exterior grading system. So you can better to see from the section. The outer layer, they're using the grading to protect the weather, but inner layer, they're using this dry stack method to making and to diffuse the lighting from the outside. But also you can just see this twisting the bar. This bar, twisting bar, the connecting from the stone panel, and then the twisting bar actually holding the exterior grading system. So you better to understanding about this system here. You can see the metal structure, and then you can just find out this twisting bar. Okay, this twisting bar, this is actually welding in this metal structure, and then this welded the metal bar holding the exterior grading system. Okay, so this is a kind of main structure to hold this grading system from the main structure here. But you can also find out what kind of anchoring system you can use. Anchoring, this is a typical anchor accessory. Okay, so this paneling anchor system set up in expansion joint between the two stone panel. So this is the most typical connection in a stone stacking. You can see this steel, the structure, and then they're using the anchor to hold these two stone type. However, you can just kind of find out how they connect these two stones together. So it doesn't have any mortar. It mostly just kind of stacking each other. But without anchor, it is not stable. So that's why they just consider about some connection between these stacking stone. they using this stone to stone the anchoring type here. So means they having the stone and then stacking the another stone. So they actually using this stone to stone the system to connecting the stone together. So this one is more to connect the stone to stone, but stone to structure they're using this bar, and then this is one side stone, this connecting here, this is two, the stacking stone here, and then this end of this anchor the connect to the main structure part. Okay. So now I just a little bit introducing about the lab today. Today's lab you need to be design the material for this trench stop. So I just kind of bring it out this trench stop here. So this is the same design, but they choosing the different material. But when you see this different the material per same the massing design, it just looks like a different looking trench stop, and then it provides different feeling depending on the materiality. So you can see that this trench stop here, they have a different material, stone panel and wood, and this stone panel with the lining. This is even have some different material. Even they can see the glass block and the brick and another brick and the metal panel. So depending on the materiality, it delivers the different feeling. So I just kind of provide this trench stop, and then you choosing the stone in your hometown, and then making out the new design, making out adapt the new materiality into the proposed SketchUp design. So you can just find out that the description in the SketchUp file. I think you can start to design from the existing trench stop. Also, personally, you have to be choosing the stone around your hometown. Okay, so you can probably propose a new materiality here, 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 here. You can also little bit change some design form if you need it, but just kind of you can talk to me or your TA or Eric. Okay, so today's class is we talk about the different stone materiality and the different arranging type. Also, we talk about the different assemblage type. So I think this is a very important to know about how you can explaining about your stone and how you can transforming the stone from the original form. We talk about the lots of different technique to transforming the actual stone to the actual stone to some design purpose. So means you can just if you know about the basic materiality, you are easy to the transit and transform your original material to the new way. Okay, thanks again for today's lecture, and then you just keep working on the lab today. Thanks.